You want to start using the tool mod, but you just like you're scared of using it. You're not sure what to do. Maybe you've downloaded it before, and yeah, you've deleted it now because you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. If this is the case, today I am here to help you. So we are going to start from the very beginning. If you look down below, I have placed the link where you can download the tool mod. That will bring you up to this web page here. What you want to do is you want to scroll all the way to the bottom, pretty much like just before the comments start. So yeah, you see the comments are down here. What we want to do is we just want to download that. Then go up here to the top right and click this folder. We'll see show in folder. This will make this folder appear. So you'll see this in the folder here. And what you want to do is you just want to double click it. And then even here, it says drag the folder into your mods folder. So yeah, you just get this one and you're going to drag this over into the mods folder. Now, once we are in game, there are actually two ways that we can use this. Let me just grab a few items out here to show you. So if we go into live live mode where we play our Sims, we can actually use it here. And what we do is we shift click onto the object and that'll bring up the tool here. But let me tell you, it's a little bit harder to use it this way. So what I do is I go into build mode and we use it in build mode. So what we're going to do is we're going to push shift T. This is going to bring up your menu. Now, I don't use everything in this menu. So today, I just want to show you what I use. So to begin with, I'm going to start with elevation because I think that's probably what everybody wants to use. So if I get this nutcracker out and we're going to make this smaller as we usually would in game, we'll bring it up with the 9 key as well. Now, let me place that on my table and let me see if he's floating. He is floating. Can you see that? So what we're going to do here is push shift and T. We need to click on the object to make him like green. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come to elevate. Now, when you're elevating, don't elevate by too much. Now, as you use tool more, you'll get kind of used to what the spaces are in between. But for now, if I just show you this one, I am going to minus this to bring it down. So I'm going to push minus to bring this one down. And I'm going to put in 0.05. And you see how little this brings this down. But it's quite close to the table, isn't it? You see, 0.05, it's quite close to the table. Now, I think that might be spot on, actually. Now, if I bring this down a little bit more, so if I go minus 0.01, that actually might make the stand of the nutcracker go into the table. So let's have a look. Oh, that was okay. So we can bring it down by another minus 0.01. Oh, you see, that one made it go into the stand. So what I tend to do now, because I know that that is in the table a little bit too much, but my one before was fine. What we can do is go to options and undo. Lovely. And then it's fine. And then we go back and we need to click our object to remove the tool from it. You see, every object we click will go green, but we do need to be able to click off of the object, push shift T again. So do you know what I mean by like the amount of spaces here? So if I'm going to elevate this and I'll elevate it by 1. You see how much this is going to take it off my screen. Look, I don't even know where this is anymore. You see how high that is? That is 1. From the table to there, that's 1. So you don't really ever want to minus it by 1, not unless it's like super high. But really what I tend to do is for like little gaps on shelf. If you have a tiny little gap, all you want to do is minus 0, 1, 2, 3, you know, I'll go for 2 right now, but you'll see how minute the change is. It brings it down ever so slightly. Nothing is really floating this high because I can use the 9 and the 0 key to bring it down. Like in game, we can do that. You know, I can do this and bring it down using these keys. So usually we will get the item floating ever so slightly. And yeah, when you do get that, you want to click your item, go green, elevate, minus to bring it down, and yeah, minus 0.02, very small, and then you can keep doing it. If you haven't quite got it, minus 0.02, you can just go again until you get it to the bottom. And like I said before, you will eventually learn like how much you kind of need. So I've been using tool now for quite a while and I'm like, oh, I think it's 0.08. We really don't use the big numbers. We're going for 0.01s, 0.02s. Let me just show you on a different surface here. Yeah, let me get this out. Let me get my little nutcracker. Let me reset him as well because I think it's just a bit easier if I reset him. I don't use that one because I've already used tool on that one, you see, and he's like a different height in the game already. So I'm going to start off with this one. We're going to make this one smaller using the game keys, and then we'll bring it up using 9. Now, with a shelf, what you can do in game is you can just move your shelf, you know, you can just move it. But if you have your shelf exactly where you want it and your item is floating ever so slightly like this. Shift T, we're bringing up tool. We're going to click on the item to make it green. We're going to go to elevate and we'll go minus point. I reckon this is about 0.3 actually. So let's go for 0.3. Oh, he is a bit low. So actually I'm going to go elevation 0.01. What I did before was actually fine bringing him up that point. That was, look at that. See, that's much better. And then we'll click him again, Shift T, and we're at a tool. We can do whatever we want. We can pick up whatever we want. Now, let's talk about rotation because I think elevation is kind of easy. All I need you to remember is just be low with those numbers. 0.01, 0.03, you know, and then if you're a little bit, if you regret what you did, just push the undo button. So let's move on to rotation now. Let me get rid of these bits in here. Now, I usually use the rotation tool for cushions on sofas, actually, because if we bring it up, if we have a couple of cushions here, what I like to do is, you see, they're not like, I don't know, they're just a bit uniform, right? Ooh, I want one like this. Yeah, I want one this side. So what we can do here, you know, in game, we can rotate like this. We push the Alt key and we can rotate. But what we can't do is we can't really have this cushion leaning back against the sofa. And we can totally do that with tool. So with rotation, what you need to do is make sure you're aware of where that triangle is pointing, because this will determine where your rotation is going, right? So this is facing towards like me, and the rotation will be. So if I place this back on the sofa here, go like this, and we'll push Shift T again to open up tool. We're going to click on the object and we'll go to rotate. Now, we've got a few different ways that we can use the rotation. However, like I said, in game, we already have this. So I'm going to change the axis here, and I don't want that one. I want this one. You see where this is going? You see that? So what we can do here is, because I know this is facing forwards, right? It's facing towards me. So I have to minus this. And I'm just going to go for -20. And you'll see this rotate just a little bit back onto the sofa as if it's leaning on the sofa. You see that? Do you see how much more natural that looks? Now, if I wanted to do this and just give it a little bit more, I'm going to -10 because it's going back, isn't it? Oh, look at that. And then what we can do is we can just come up here and adjust it. Adjust it to where it is on our sofa. Is it floating? Should we have a little look to see if this bad boy is floating? Oh, it's not really, is it? But look at that. Look at what that does to the sofa. So if we weren't to use tool and we were just to use these pillows, right? I'm going to do a little bit of a test here. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll put these two sofas side by side so we can actually see the difference of what they look like. So this is going to be my cushion here without using tool. Just going to, maybe I'll rotate this one a little bit. Yeah, we'll do that. Place it in the corner. There we go. So that's without tool. Now let's get another pillow out, sorry, and use tool on this one. Shift T to open up the tool, and we'll click it to make sure that it is green. Now it's already on the same axis that I had before, which is great. Now I want this one to be a little bit falling down a little bit more. And I don't even think that is as much as I want it a little bit more than that. Yeah, let's have this one really falling into the sofa. Now let's unclick this so it's not green anymore. Shift T to get rid of tool. We're back in build mode. Let's do that and bring it out a bit. Oh yeah, look at that. And what we could do, actually, I think I need to bring it up a little bit because it's just in the sofa a little bit. So we're going to elevate this, and again, really tiny numbers. I'm going to go for 0.01, and I might do it again. Yeah, we're going to go 0.01 again, just here. There we go. So it's just not quite so in the sofa, I guess. Maybe one more. 0.01. That might be a little bit better. But do you see how much more like natural the sofa looks? This one looks good, don't get me wrong. This one looks really good, but you can do things. You know, I can put this pillow on the floor. Right, when you're rotating as well, I do want to show you something. If you did want to put this sofa on the floor as if it's fallen off and it's like flat on the floor, if you're rotating, I do recommend pushing the 9 button and just bringing it up off the floor a little bit, because sometimes it can get lost in the floor. So in order to rotate this one so it's flat, let's grab it. Let's go to rotate. Let's go with 90. Flat as a button. Look at that. And now if I get rid of tool mod and we go back into build mode, this is a little bit hard to build with, right? This is a little bit hard to control. Don't worry about that because you've done the angle on it, you see. But we can bring that down. See, if I rotate it with the Sims 3 camera, it's going to do this because we've changed the axis on it. You see that? So you don't really want to do that. If you need to rotate it again, it's not quite in the right position, please use tool mod. If you've used it before to do a rotation, use it again. We'll do it on this, but what we're going to need to do is change the axis on it. So I don't want it to be so like square with the sofa here. So I'm going to change the axis and make sure we can hardly see it, but you can kind of see it here where it is going round, right? Now I want to move this just a little bit. I don't want to make it massively obvious, so I'm going to move it by 40. Yeah, there we go. That looks like it's fallen off the sofa, right? Oh, this is what I've done before, actually. Right, so if we come outside, I've actually used this as a side table before. So in order to do that, I'm going to bring it up using the 9 key because I'm going to rotate this and I don't want it to go into my ground and I don't want to lose it. So you see it's floating a little bit. We're going to Shift T, get tool mod up, and we're going to click it so that it is green. Let's go for rotate. Now, it doesn't really matter which way I'm going to change the axis on this because I just want it to be upside down, right? So I'm going to change this to 180. Look at that. Now, that is in the ground a little bit, and if I hadn't already hovered it and elevated it, then I would have lost that in the ground and I wouldn't have ever seen that again. And if that does happen, you can always just go to options and undo. This is a great option here to have, just undo. Now, because we are floating, I am going to elevate this. However, you can actually see that half of this is in the ground, so I'm actually going to elevate this by 0.5. I'm not going to use the 0.05 because I need it to come up quite a lot, but I'm still going to go 0.5. Oh, you see we are a little bit off the ground there, so let's go for minus 0.1 and see. Or we might need to go for another one here, minus 0.1. Now that's hovering ever so slightly. But I think if I do a minus 0.1 again, that's going to take us back to where we was before. So if I go to a minus 0.5, and this is what I tend to do with tool. I go in stages. I go little by little. Because if you go way too big, you're just going to lose your item. Great, amazing. So we can unclick her, get the tool mod away. And look at this. We've got our side table. Now, I personally think she's probably a little bit too big to be a side table. So I'm going to make her smaller, but this does mean that she's floating again. But that's fine. I can get the tool mod up. We can come back down. What did we say? It was like minus 0.2, I think, right? Ooh, that's a little bit low. So we'll go 0.05. Perfect. We've got a little side table, look. We have 3 different axes here. So we can move it this way. We can move it this way. And we can move it round this way as well. And this works just like angles in real life. So like I did before, if I want to rotate this and make it face the opposite direction, it would be 180 degrees. Usually I use the tool mod like I did earlier with the sofa cushions, and I just do it ever so slightly. So in this case, we would have our tool mod with the axis going over this way. And I would just really do like minus 20 usually, just a little bit. Just so it's leaning just a little bit like this, you see? And even that we can put up against the sofa here. Look at that. How cool is that? So we can make them look less uniform. Now, another thing I use in tool a lot is the scale option. I never really use this move option up here, I got to tell you that. And in settings, I only use the undo and redo, really. I never change. I never use any of the other options in here. It's only undo. So we've been through elevate, we've been through rotate, and we have scale. So in the game, you can scale things up using this bracket key here, and we can scale it down using the bracket key as well. I've got a room full of bugs on the gallery, and this is what I usually use the scale for. We have some really cool bugs and critters in here. We also have some butterflies. If I use the in-game button to make it smaller, it doesn't quite get rid of the box for me. And sometimes I don't want this box to be shown at all. I can go to the tool mod, I can click it in green, and I can go to scale. To get rid of an item completely, which, by the way, you will never see it again. You will never be able to click on that item again because it will be so small. But we're going to do this here. I'm going to go 0.00001, like any amount of zeros. We're going to make it the tiniest number we can possibly make this. Boom. My item's gone. But you know what I have to do with this? If I have done that with an item, I have to click on another one, click off of it, make sure that tool isn't still on that item because I can't click it anymore. I can't click it again to make it not green. So I have to do that. I have to click on another one and click it off, get rid of tool. And if we go into live live mode, look, there's our butterfly. There's our butterfly there. Look how cool that is. And we don't have its cage anymore because I just totally got rid of it. Scaling down your item using the scale tool. Right, so we've got 2 vases here. If I use the in-game tool scale, right, that brings it down to this. So this item here is scaled 1. We've brought this down, making it smaller using the bracket key, and this makes this 0.8. So if we wanted an in-between size, we would need to get our tool mod up, click on it. Like I said, this is 1, this is 0.8. So in between would be 0.9. Look at that. So every single item you get out will be scaled 1. And when you scale them down using the in-bracket keys that come with the game, they scale down by 0.2. So this is 1, this is 0.8, and this would be 0.6. So you actually never do get a half of an item in a game. So if you wanted to do that, we would have to get our tool mod up by pushing Shift-T, click on the item, make it green, and scale by doing 0.5. That would make this half of what the original item's size was. And yeah, that's the elevation, that's the rotation I use, that's how I use the scaling. And I hope you found this helpful today, because I know some people do struggle with tool mod. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. But for now, go and download the tool mod, have a little try, have a lovely day, and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!